So when you're starting, a big thing is you can't be afraid to accept help. And the people who have the best help are the people who've been through what you're trying to go through. Small business. Don't hesitate to reach out to other small businesses. Like we met Wentworth and a couple other people, LaFontaine. And these are people who were just like giving us tips. And to this day, they just give us more support. Like, hey, I see y'all, keep going. Let me know if you truly need anything. Even if you sign up for a competition and you don't win, network and learn, because it's never a loss.
I got my start, I would have to go back actually before I even got my start in the food industry. And so I was a musician based in Flint for about 15 years. And after doing that and kind of getting burnt out, I was in a really fortunate position in my life to where I was able to start traveling. Through all these travels and experiences, one of the things that was really common throughout them all was just this profound power of food and just how it was able to transcend, culture, language, all different kinds of things. And so I found myself in a lot of really amazing, life-changing situations, all brought in by being at the table, surrounding food. I just saw the path and decided on a whim to buy a food truck. Had no experience whatsoever, and just kind of armed with my mom's recipes, I started Wraps and Rolls, which was my first Vietnamese food truck that I ran at the farmer's market. That did so well that I ended up getting the spot inside the farmer's market called Mamung. After I opened Mamung in the farmer's market, I just started naturally just kind of becoming friends with the whole chef community here. I'll never forget it. I'd be sitting around with everybody and they would just go around in circles about how they hated working at this place or they hated working for this person. And it was just sharing all these stories, and I'm just listening and just really, bewildered by how negative and toxic everything sounded. And so I remember at one point I just kind of asked everybody, I was like, why do you guys do this? It sounds so horrible and awful. And they all just kind of laughed it off. And they're just that's just how it is. It's not how it has to be. And I think pretty much right then and there, I made a promise to myself that I would never operate or run a business like that. That I would actually run a business that was, that offered care and compassion and dignity to the workforce and the employees. So I decided to leverage my infrastructure with Mamung, with the farmer's market, and some relationships that I had with Kettering University and Good Beans Cafe. And we started up a pop-up series, and it was a huge success. The whole community came out, each one sold out, and it was just really, really amazing. And so, I started getting hit up by a bunch of people that, saw that attended the pop-ups and everything, and just were struck with this inspiration. And, they wanted to get into the food industry as well, but they didn't know how. So that was kind of the origins, I guess, of Flint Social Club and, why we do what we do.
Well, my name is Jennifer Johnson, and I am the founder of Elations Health Tea. We've been in business for a little over a year now. I decided to start a tea company because I'm really passionate about health and community. Before entrepreneurship, I worked as a pharmacy technician. I've always been passionate about healthcare and helping people. But I also saw that a lot of people had a lot of different prescriptions for things that could be changed from diet. And it just didn't feel like I was in healthcare in the right way. For the first time I saw someone change their diet and do the things they're supposed to do, and they were cut down to from 12 to 3 medications. And I knew then, I'm 19, but I knew then that, this isn't the way, I want to move in healthcare. I think it's not about loading on more medications, it's about, really treating whatever ailments you might have and actually getting healthier and better. So I knew I always wanted to come back to healthcare and do it my way, and I decided to do it through tea. Elations Health Tea is basically a loose leaf tea company, and the way we're different is we don't use tea bags. Tea bags are bad for the environment, and it's much healthier and a much better quality of tea if you use loose leaf tea instead of tea bags. So I think that's how we're different. Also, we have different blends. They're very flavorful. There's a lot of different mixtures and herbals where you want caffeine or non-caffeinated. Our mission with Elations Health Tea is just to promote healthy lifestyle changes. I'm doing it through, promoting people to drink loose leaf tea, which is really important because it lowers cholesterol, diabetes, and pretty much any illness that you could think of. And it's really important that we pay attention to what we put into our bodies, which I think people don't really do or think about. I do see that there is a lack of the promotion of health in our community, and I think it's just so important that we have other local businesses promoting healthy lifestyle changes. I think that's really important, especially in the Flint community.
The Poke Bowl was formally created as an LLC back in 2017 when we had no idea on how to formally start a business. what it meant to sell a sushi bowl or anything like that. What happened was, at the time, we had friends who went straight from Beecher and they went to Los Angeles straight out of high school back in like 2010. And he was already out there for a minute, our best friend. So he's like, hey, you're in the hip hop, you're in the rap, why don't you come out here, shoot your first music video? So we're like, okay, we're gonna go to California.
And so we go out there, we're out there for I think, 4 days altogether? So we went 4 days. Most of our time there was spent shooting a music video. So we really didn't have time to do much of anything outside. And that was our first time in LA. And so we come out the last day. And me and Jerron were just like, well, we gotta be on a plane in like, I don't know, 6 hours. So we were like, we should go back to Venice Beach. And we just got an Uber and just went by ourselves. And then I'm like, we haven't had any seafood. So we go on Google and type in fresh seafood near us, and we find this place, this real small hole-in-the-wall poke spot that popped up. We didn't find it yet. It just pops up on Google. We had never had poke before then, but it said it was like seafood. So we get to walking, and we're walking through back alleys, and there's a bunch of people. We went outside and sat down and ate it, and after the first bite he took, he's like, we gotta bring this back to Flint. And I'm like, he full of air most times. So I'm just like, oh, okay, we'll bring this back to Flint. We'll see.
Because you downplay everything. Your original idea, you're gonna downplay it yourself. So I'm just thinking in my head, man, that's stupid. You got Flint fishbowl, nobody gonna buy that. What happened was, at the time, and I was interning with Congressman Dan Kildee actually in the building, I was just telling him that I wanted to get involved in the city. It wasn't really about the money. I wasn't getting paid as an intern. I wanted to get involved somehow, and then my sister-in-law, Kiara Dotson, and she's like, hey, you used to start coming to these community meetings. So it's like the third meeting I went to, a couple people in the back that I've never seen before, and she's like, hey, Jerron, that's Flint Soup. She's like, you really need to go back there and tell them your fishbowl idea. So I'm just like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna go talk to him. I knew in the back of my head I was gonna leave. I had no intentions of going, but that's part of getting out your comfort zone, and just, that's the only way you can get opportunity. So I go back there and I sit down and I'm like, hey, she's just like, yeah, your sister-in-law said you have an idea. And I was like, okay, yeah, I got the stupid idea. It's a fish bowl. She's like, what? I'm like, I went to California for the first time. Got me and my brother, and we found this fish bowl idea called poke. Her eyes lit up. It was like, oh my God, I'm actually part Japanese. I'm like, oh, okay. It's like, yeah, and I know what poke is. It's like, how in the world? I'm like, yeah, me and my brother are like really trying to figure out a way to bring it here, make it tangible.
So we ended up winning a Flint Soup. We win, 3 of them, and we end up getting to another Flint Soup, where Adrian and James were partnering with Habitat for Humanity. And the winner of their pitch competition would get the chance to be a part of what they called a live work program. And so they were gonna have a new building and have living space upstairs. The business commercial space will be downstairs.
So around that time, 2018, so now it's like, okay, we gotta get real, we got a building coming. We were working with Nick Custer. And so that's when we got to a point with him, and he's like, hey man, I don't know if you heard 100K yet, or David over there is a really good guy. You should take your idea over there. You're kind of food-based. I don't know what they do with food marketing, but go and take a look. So I'm like, okay. So I stopped in here, everybody's friendly, they brought me in. They told me about the intake form and all. I filled that out. I filled out the form, like, okay, this is the place to go for ideas.
So first I had the idea to start a tea business, and I didn't know anything about tea business because I've been doing janitorial business for the last 10 years. So I contacted 100K Ideas because I wanted to get a website up and running, and I wanted it to look really good, and they did an amazing job. They also are really good at helping you with resources. I had no idea what I wanted altogether. They helped me bring the vision pretty much to life, because the website is really thorough about explaining each tea blend that we have. And after they helped me with the website, it was easy for me to just take it on myself and just handle it from there. I'm my own website manager, and it's easy now.
The 100K Ideas team, they saw what I was doing on the community level, and so they reached out to me, and they've always been very encouraging, especially with all the programs and things that they offered. And so, they convinced me to do a pitch competition, which I did.
How many of you wish that there were more options for a nice dinner downtown outside of the 5 restaurants that currently exist there?
Didn't place, which was fine, but it kind of got me into the start of getting into the whole 100K infrastructure, doing all the market research and everything. It's really, for the first time, because Flint Social Club was just so grassroots and DIY. I think through that process, I was able to actually figure out, a story and a way to actually articulate what it was that we were actually doing. And last year, we officially became a 501c3.
I feel that Elations Health has a really great impact on the community because tea is really healthy for you to drink. Like even my kids actually drink herbal tea, and it's so important in our community that we promote, health.
Innovation of the community, it's really interesting, particularly in Flint. It really informs what we do. We have our ear to the ground. We kind of shape shift each season according to the needs of the community. And so where we started off with with pop-ups and like taking on individual vendors to mentor and put on dinners before, we just saw year after year just how much more people were out there that wanted to get their feet wet and just try it out kind of thing. And so in response to that, then we started to do just kind of like lower commitment kind of programming, and so that's how the night market started. And so that's something to where you can just come out and serve for a single event on a weekend, as opposed to putting in all this time, taking off work and everything. And so what we do is we just try to provide the platforms of support, and even if we can't do it, we're always connecting because there's so many other amazing programs and organizations here that help out people as well.
Well, community is a really big initiative of mine. We started out last year and we had our first Elations Health Tea event this past summer. It was free. We had free smoothies. We had other local vendors to shop with. It was really amazing. We even had kids crafts. So I've already been big on community with Prestige Janitorial Services. We're big on sponsorships and giving back to foster care and different initiatives in the community. For me, running two businesses, I have my husband helping me, of course, with Prestige, but it's still a lot of work. I do a lot of the sales and contracts and stuff like that, and I have to do sales on the other end for Elations, and this is new and different, not really what I've been currently used to with Prestige and janitorial businesses, but it's definitely worth it. It's like an uphill battle, but you're still going up.
So if you are interested in food is by far like our biggest area of expertise. We're your people, we're your organization. So you can find us through our Facebook is how we kind of get out there into the world. We're actually starting up with all of our kind of other social media accounts and websites and things as well. But you can also email at us at flintsocialclub@gmail.com as well. I would say that yes, we are very much food focused, but we also see this huge gap and need in the community to provide more services and support to the Black and Brown communities and women as well. And so we really try to tailor our services to be as inclusive as possible. So I think for us, it made us operate more as a community organization, as opposed to just in a silo where we're just fixed on this one problem, this one solution. We can actually grow with the community as our services grow.
So COVID was coming, so that's when we had to pivot from a standpoint of waiting to get into our building to go mobile and try to sell wholesale. But through networking and relationships previous to COVID, we're like, hey, we did a pop-up here at local grocer.
But once the pandemic hit, me and Jerron went back and we were like, I think we can package these bowls in a way where we can put them in a cooler. So could we just sell them in the grocery store? Because during the pandemic, everything was closed except grocery stores and fast food restaurants.
Yeah, a lot of it too, putting your product out there or your service for free. That's gold. One thing, if they're a retailer and they have your product and they have to take a loss on something that doesn't sell, anyone will take anything free. So if you give it to them free to sell and they can recoup everything back, it just makes it more likely they'll come and then get a contract. So that's where we figure out how it's like a start to retail business works a lot of the time.
My advice for any startup entrepreneurs is, just get to know the community. I think what people see is the successes a lot, because that's kind of what bubbles up out of everything. And it can be intimidating, but at the end of the day, just remember that I was in your position at one point, and I had no idea what I was doing. And this whole journey has been trial by fire. And I've gotten this far because of the strength of the relationships with the community. Everybody in Flint is so supportive, and so don't ever think that you're alone, and just get out there and just network and talk to as many people as possible.
A lot of it is just being able to just go straight forward and ask.
And I think another thing as far as learning experiences go from this, once the pandemic had hit, just like the rest of the world, we didn't know what we were going to do, especially small businesses. Mm-hmm. And we basically had to, I just heard this slogan the other day, a pandemic pivot, where we just stood right there and we're like, okay, how can we reshape our business to still make some kind of money? And so that's when we ended up taking that, a restaurant idea and just learning how to package it and put it into a grocery store. And I think that's a testament to just the perseverance, and things come at you all the time. And that's the thing, like this entire journey has just been like one thing after another, one problem after another that has to be solved. Some have physical results, some don't. And I think sometimes we get like stuck in the grind of like, you're solving all of these little issues that have no physical result, so they don't seem as big or as tangible as other things. So I do think me and Jerron have learned that, like he said earlier, no loss is a loss. Even when we lost the pitch competitions, it wasn't a loss because we gained network.
My advice for anybody trying to be an entrepreneur is to expect it to be hard at first. Expect to not make very much money at first. But as you go, just don't give up. If this is something you really want to do, you have to stick with it for some years, even when it gets tough and hard. Elations Health Tea is really doing amazing in its first year. We're in shops on Saginaw. You can get all 8 different tea blends. And we're also located in Ojibwa Health Store on Center Road, which was really exciting to get my tea out there. We are on our website, but we are also on another website, Shop Where I Live. So yeah, it's been awesome.
Our current brick and mortar location is located on 1214 University Avenue. It's right outside downtown Flint, Michigan, not too far from 100K. So yeah, we'd love for you to stop by, come check us out. We're looking to have that grand opening sometime in July, August. Again, right now you can find us at 2 grocery stores. That's the local grocer, which you mentioned earlier. It's right outside downtown Flint on MLK, or Oliver T's and Grand Blanc. It's on the other side of town. So we wanted to get both sides and then kind of draw the talent and experience right here to downtown Flint.
The biggest value that I've gained and continue to gain from my relationship with 100K is really just the relationships there. I've been through a number of the programs and services and kind of competitions that 100K offers. And I think through each one of those, I've gotten to know the 100K community a lot more. So that comes from not only just the team members that offer all these different areas of expertise, but then also the community members that the 100K outreach is to. And so, it's a really beautiful hub of innovation and small business in Flint, and it's something where if you go there, you can rub elbows with and get a nice cross shot of entrepreneurial community.
If someone has an idea, I would definitely recommend them going to 100K Ideas because they definitely helped with my tea business.
You can make it. You can come out of Flint where we don't even have the best water, and you can sell fish bowls, and people will really be here to support you. They were like literally the network. It starts with your family, your community, organizations like 100K, Habitat, where it's literally, that's what they're here for. So you just can't be afraid to reach out. Before you know it, you'll be here in our spot giving your story. I appreciate everything that 100K is doing. I see 100K out there in the trenches. I call it trench work. You're out there in the Burston Field House, Latin Center on the east side, and then you're right here as a hub for anybody who's willing to come right here to downtown. Right when Pokebo was in the first stages, I was afraid to come here. But when I came in and I actually filled out the intake form, it was like, wow, it's a place for people with ideas. Like it legitimately is. So I was like, this is different, but it's exactly what the city of Flint needed. And the Pokebo is proud to have people like 100K out here and putting the work in. So we appreciate your organization.